Okay. Oh my god, Hi, David. Just wait for a few more people to join. And then, David, I'm just going to kind of introduce what we're going to be talking about today. And then I'll get you to join in with the live. So we'll just wait for everyone else to join. Hi, Kelly. We'll let it get up to about 15 people, and then we'll get going. Hi, Mum. Everyone, my bestie's mum has just joined. I need the laptop. Okay, let's get started anyway. I mean, we've still got quite a few people to join yet, but we'll get started. So today we're going to be covering the topic of gang awareness. So as per usual, I will give you guys some statistics that we have kind of found ourselves. We do our own research and stuff like that. So so we'll run through some of those. And we're also going to have a lovely guest come on today. His name is David, and he's just going to come on and talk about all of the kind of youth work that he does through an amazing company. I'll let him explain it all to you and tell you what they kind of get up to. He's also got a couple of stories. Well, he likes to call them case studies, but he's going to tell us a couple of stories and kind of incidents that he's had to deal with young people who may have been affiliated with gangs or affiliated themselves with any kind of form of gang violence. So just to start off with the statistics. So it's been estimated that more than 30,000 children aged between 10 and 15 now say that they are in gangs in England and Wales. Now, we don't like to say that those are proper statistics because it's been estimated. There's no way of being able to tell exactly how many young people are in a kind of involved in a gang, but that's a kind of just a rough estimate. 313,000 children in England have said that they know of a gang member. So whether that's someone that they know from school or someone that their family knows or something like that, they actually know of a gang member. And then the final statistic that I've got is 60,000 children in England are gang members or siblings of gang members. So that's, they're either involved in a gang themselves or their sibling or a family member or something like that has is part of a gang or is affiliated with a gang in some sort of way. So what we're kind of going to be covering today is just looking out for, what I'll be doing is looking out for signs of your child or your young person or someone who you might be caring for, looking for the kind of signs that they might be getting themselves involved in a gang, or they might be they've been approached by a gang or something like that, the kind of signs to look out for. Now, when we previously used to deliver these lessons in schools, the kind of major thing for me, and I kind of touched on it last week and mentioned it, was the financial aspect of it. So if your young person, your child, whoever it is that you're kind of looking out for, if they are coming home with very glamorous gifts, or they're coming home and they're kind of isolating themselves from the family, and they're hanging out until all hours at night, and they're not keeping in touch with you, they might potentially be becoming quite aggressive or agitated at home with you if you question what they're doing or anything like that. So what we'll do is we will, at the end of the live, once we've had David join, we'll go through the different signs that you can look for, and hopefully they can kind of create awareness and make you guys look out for the signs of a young person joining a gang. So David, if you're watching, if you could just request to join us, and we'll have you come on. Sorry guys, there we go. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Welcome to Talk with Peer2Peer. This is the first time you've appeared on here, so thank you so much for joining. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so just to kind of get started, David, if you want to just kind of introduce yourself, tell us who you are, the company that you work for, and what you guys do.
Okay. Do you know what? I've been thinking of so many possible intros to try and describe what we do. So my name's David Njai. I'm a director in an organisation called Project for Youth Empowerment. You guys should be able to see it. So click on follow us. Effectively, what we do is we reach out to young people and families in the community. We try and steer them to positive directions towards their lives, and give them positive opportunities. I think part of, and I'm probably going to develop further on in this conversation, but part of the issue that we face is that we come into play into a young person's life probably a bit too late, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Probably when they're on the wrong side of the law, so to speak. And what we try to do is intervention and try to intervene and obviously offer them positive opportunities to try and steer their life. I come from a journalism background. I've always had a passion for young people wanting to articulate themselves and be able to express themselves through media. So whether that's videography, documentaries, writing, but just being able to express themselves and be open. I feel like, and this is no slight against the statutory bodies at all, but I feel like there is that barrier when young people go and speak to youth offender services or probations, etc. Like, we are able to speak to these young people in their language, and I think that's a beautiful thing about what we do. So been doing this thing for near on a year, but it was born from the fact of being too closely associated to things that were happening. So an example that I can give from 2017 is my godson was on trial for murder. I say murder, sorry, attempted murder. He stabbed someone in the neck in the middle of Croydon Town Centre.
Wow.
I went and sat down in the Old Bailey for 2 weeks, and honestly, I felt like I wanted him to be found not guilty. But then at the same side of me, I'm thinking the empathetic side suggests that if he was the person who was the victim, how would I feel?
Yeah.
So it then brought me to kind of lead on to the fact of what can I do to kind of intervene, as opposed to be dealing with things when the situation becomes too late.
Too late.
Mm-hmm.
So with your organisation, so you said predominantly it's you kind of doing intervention work and reaching out to young people and communicating with young people once it's too late. Have you got any young people that you work with that kind of want to go down the same route as yourself, rather than going down the wrong route? They're kind of just like good kids, but they want to be kind of part of what you guys are doing.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because one of the case studies.
That's where I was going with this. I was like, right.
Good segue, great segue. one of the case studies that we dealt with quite early on was a young man who. So we have a parenting support group, which is like a safe space for parents to come and speak about their issues, and we kind of speak openly about issues because I think sometimes parents don't feel like there's a space for them to actually openly express what they're going through. So we have a group, and a woman contacted us and said she's at her wit's end. She's kind of at the point where she doesn't really know what to do with her young man. Her young man had been stabbed. He then went and picked up a knife and stabbed the young man that stabbed him. But unfortunately for him, the young man that he stabbed pressed charges against him, which meant that he obviously had a criminal court case. And we've done some work with him. We've done some, I would say, intervention work, but like I said, once again, that work is then too late because we're working after the fact as opposed to before the fact. So the work that we done with him was getting him on some accredited courses. He finished like top of the class with some courses he done with TFL. He got a CSCS course. And when it went to court, the judge gave him a suspended sentence as opposed to a custodial sentence based on some of the work that he'd done with us.
Amazing.
And I think that kind of propelled us to then go on to a next level, because from that, what happened in that court case is a youth offending team worker approached my colleague who was working with this young man and actually said, could you do some work with a young man that we're working with?
Yeah.
But they had a young man that was on work on bail for murder, which obviously we spoke about briefly the other day, but which is quite rare. You don't really get someone who's on bail for murder. You usually get someone on remand.
Yeah.
And whilst he was on bail, he was on curfew from 8 until 6, pretty limited as to what he could do, couldn't really attend certain areas, couldn't really approach his friends, etc. So we engaged with him, started doing some work with him. But going back to the point at hand, and let's talk about this gang stuff. Let's really get to the heart of it. This young man I met him on 2 days before lockdown happened. So as you can imagine, it was quite hard to engage with him on the first initial occasion because we met him with statutory services there at the time. So he was quite defensive, to say the least. But we could tell that there was something that we could break down and work with him.
Yeah.
However, as I said, lockdown happened, which meant that it was limited contact.
Yeah.
And lockdown previously was kind of different to how it is now. So it was literally everyone was in their house. So tried to engage with him throughout time, started to break down some doors.
So during lockdown, was you having like phone conversations with him or video calls? Or...
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think you paused for a minute.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, sorry. So one of the things that he said was one of his objectives was to attend Chelsea Football Club. So we met with him after lockdown, took him back to the football club, and the relationship kind of developed to a point where, as he was approaching his trial, we kind of became a lot more closer. So this young man's on bail for murder, and like I said, we are an organisation who speak with young people in their language, but I will never go to a young person and ask them the real facts behind their case, because I'm not a barrister. I'm there to kind of give them support and trying to help them positively to develop, as opposed to be someone who's going to be there to judge them.
Exactly.
But what transpired throughout the case, obviously I was sent some pieces of evidence from his family, etc., just to give me an overview of the case. There was a lot of evidence against him, but I think the result of it, and I don't want to talk into too much detail about the case, but the result of it is that he was gang affiliated. So quite a good young man playing football at quite a decent level, got associated with some people who weren't really his friends, but were associates because of areas that he was attached to. Doesn't have a great relationship with his dad, but his dad comes from a particular area where he's affiliated with. So therefore, because of his attachments and his dad's notoriety, so to speak, he was associated with certain individuals. And so I'm going to give you a version of events. So Friday, they're outside a food shop. Some guys jump out of a car, run them down, and they're associated to a particular gang. So that's Friday. Everyone goes home. That's that. On Sunday, goes to, and this is where it gets a bit deep, because on Sunday he goes to church, and after he goes to church on Sunday afternoon, he goes back to the area that he's associated to, and he sees someone from the opposing gang who is associated to these people that have run out on him on Friday.
Right.
So he's on a bike, the young person's on foot. He's chased the person down. They've had a conversation. He's made a phone call to one of his friends to say, "Look, I've seen this person." Blah blah blah. After that phone call was made, obviously the murder has happened. So allegedly,
so the young man who he pulled over was later on attacked and murdered. Just to clarify. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Correct.
Wow.
And as a result of him making that phone call and being associated, he then left the area for the evening, and was later found in somewhere up north 2 days later. After that, he was arrested, charged with murder, and he gave no evidence. He went no comment interview. He gave no evidence at court, and he was found guilty a couple of weeks ago for life, and he's now serving 16 years because, and this is what I said to you the other day, we're going to go off on a tangent, because he refuses to speak. So a young man is now in jail for 16 years for something that he didn't do, but let's be honest, he was associated to, but he didn't do.
I'm not being funny. It's a similar kind of situation. Obviously, it is kind of gang related, but it's the same situation as that when people used to call girls set up chicks and stuff like that. If you've made the phone call to the opposing side, but you've met up with this person and you're the one that made the phone call to bring them people over there to inflict harm on that person, you're just as guilty as the person who picked up the knife and stabbed him. That's just my personal opinion. Sorry, go and continue.
No, I get that completely. And I think part of that is this no snitching code. And it's interesting, and we always have these conversations with our young people when we speak to them, because what is snitching and what is being a witness? Because as far as I'm concerned, like I'm not trying to put myself in any sort of pedestal, but like, I've never been involved in any sort of like criminality to the extent of where I feel like I am gonna take the rap for someone else. Like, but equally, I wouldn't do some of the things that some of these young people do, and I think that the gang culture does lead them to follow and do certain things that they wouldn't necessarily do, but because they're kind of in a certain environment and it kind of gives them a sense of belonging, they feel like it's the cool thing to do at the time. But in hindsight, obviously, as we all know, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah.
So kind of when you look at it from the side of pressure, the amount of pressure that young people have got on them. So whether it's from an educational standpoint or whether it's from a kind of gang related standpoint, like you might not be the most academically capable young person. So you might stray off and find yourself associating yourself with other fellow young people who aren't academically able, or they're just not interested in going to school. So when you when you basically bring a group together that all have the same intentions, they're all such a massive influence on each other, as much as they might not realize it. So it's also the pressure of still wanting to be involved with those kinds of people. These are now my family, like you said as well. With that young man, he might not have a good relationship with his dad, so he might have that sense of wanting, and they reach out to someone who's an older or something like that, who's involved in a gang. They might look to those kind of people to have that sense of wanting and have that sense of involvement. We've had a couple.
Can I take it?
Sorry, just a couple of questions because I'll have to keep on checking them while you're speaking. So, Ina's asked, how old was the young person?
He was 17 at the time.
He was 17 at the time. Okay, and she's also said questions would probably be worse if he was to be honest and say who did it. So that's what we spoke about earlier. It's also a kind of like a snitches get stitches thing. So whether is he safer to be in prison, or is he safer to snitch and then fear for his life potentially outside of a prison or outside of this situation? He would most likely, the likelihood of him being able to stay and live within the same area after he's just snitched on someone is very, very unlikely, and he probably would have to completely move out of the area. So yeah, I mean, it's an awful crossroads to find yourself at. It's awful to have to make a decision of spend 16 years in prison because you don't want to rat on your friend, or you rat on your friend and you potentially have to pick up your whole life and run away from where you live. It's mental.
Absolutely. And I think, do you know what, to take it one step backwards, I think part of the issue is that, and once again, I really don't want to speak out against the authorities and the provisions that are available to young people, but we've regressed so much in terms of what we're able to do and engage with young people on a real, like, grassroots level.
Yeah.
And therefore, I feel like they just feel like all they have is going to school, and that's their only option in terms of engaging people and real people. Because other than that, like, the youth clubs have kind of been taken away, and yes, they've kind of been commercialized in a way where you've got these big, like, youth clubs, these, like, youth zones, so to speak, which cater for a wide variety of the community. But equally, you've got young people who don't want to attend these things because they know that some people from a different area from the borough are going to attend these events. And that's where I just feel like we've become so disjointed. Like, when I grew up, it was so intertwined. Everything was intertwined. You used to play for a football team, and people with different schools, different areas, and you'd interact, and you know someone from a different school, and it wouldn't get to the point where, like, for example, if you had a problem with someone from another school, you would know someone in that year who knows that person. So therefore, you would squash that problem. Whereas now, everything becomes so divided, and this whole code wars that was there, what, 10 years ago, has kind of made us become a bit more divided as opposed to becoming more united.
Yeah. I also think, just like with myself growing up and when I was in secondary school, not saying that there wasn't any gangs. I mean, I was affiliated with gangs myself, the gangs in my area. I'd be going to where they used to hang around on the street in the park, and I'd be going there and smoking my cigarettes and smoking weed and drinking my alcohol, just being a complete rebel. But I also feel like, as much as there was postcode wars, there was all of that going on, I never actually witnessed it myself. I never witnessed another gang come into the area that we lived in and them basically killing each other or doing whatever they was doing. I never actually witnessed it. But I feel like now, I don't know if it's because there's more awareness out there. I don't know if it's because we've now got social media as a massive platform that's opening our eyes to everything that's going on in the world. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's been such an increase in the amount of stabbings, shootings, gang-related crime. I feel like there's been a massive increase to it, and it's just kind of trying to find out why and what young people are thinking, and I think it kind of links into what Tasha, I don't know if you can see the comment, but Tasha's just put in there, it's about gang culture being glamorized. Like, I do believe that to an extent, the kind of idea of selling drugs, being able to buy designer clothes, having nice clothes, all of that kind of stuff, and it is to do with kind of being in a gang, or from a financial standpoint, being able to earn that money through selling drugs or whatever it is. It is down to the kind of image and what people want to be like nowadays. Sorry, David. Can you hear me, David? Sorry, guys. We're having just a little bit of a technical difficulty. Sorry, guys. David should be rejoining. It's just his connection was a little bit bad. Bear with me. Go.
I'm back.
Right, so what did you hear
Is
get
that better?
up to?
You know what? You started stuttering from about 2 minutes ago. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
no, just
trying to keep up.
covering.
I got to the point where you talk
Talking about what, sorry?
media.
Okay, yeah. So what I was saying is I don't know if everything is kind of it seems like it's happening a lot more because of social media being such a massive platform so that everyone can kind of see videos of things going on. People have videos of them on the like on their estates or whatever they're doing, basically showing the world that they are part of the gang. I don't think it's as kind of hidden, and it also links in with Tasha. She basically put a point down before, and it's about the glamorization around gang affiliation and people being in gangs and basically selling. It's basically like you're in a gang, you sell drugs, you've got loads of money, you buy designer clothes, you drive nice cars, and you stunt on Instagram. That's what I feel like life is now, and I just think that's probably the I don't know if I would call it the sole problem, but I would say it has a massive influence on young people steering away from going down an education or a kind of like employment route, and they would rather go down the route of being associated with a gang. You basically sell drugs. It's quick, easy money. You get loads of money very, very quickly, and you can basically fit in with society. That's what society is nowadays.
Um, Interesting because I'm seeing some of the comments that are coming through as well, and
Yeah,
I like entirely about belonging. I obviously feel some things about the deep-rooted issues as well in terms of poverty,
yeah,
and in terms of craving. Um, so let me touch on the fact of social media. Um, so I think social media has a massive impact on how young people live in this day and age, more so than how it influences us as
yeah.
people who are slightly older. And what I mean by that is, if we look at the outrage of last week of the events that happened with the young girl in Mitcham, and please excuse me when I say that I'm not trying to compare things, but I am trying to be relative.
Yeah.
When we look at that, when we look at music videos and the glamorization of young people, we don't see that same level of outrage. When we see exploitation of young people who are sent to country to go and sell drugs, we don't see that. Like when young people listen to music and it's being spoken about openly in regards to sending youngers to countries to go and make money,
Yeah.
we don't have that energy and outrage towards it. And I'm saying that these two things are comparable, but I am talking about relativeness.
Yeah.
And we need to have that same relative these things as well.
Yeah.
Um, Social media has now made things cool that weren't cool before.
Yeah.
So glamorization of things, and also I saw a comment earlier about a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
But I think it goes further than that. And I think one of the examples also that I want to share is I know two cousins from a local area who are both affiliated with two different gangs. Now, these two cousins cannot attend family events. They won't attend family events because of their feud with each other. Because if they did attend the family events, then something would happen. Not, I would say potentially, but something would happen. And I think social media has a fuel to that because it becomes behind music. And they're both music artists, so they oppose each other throughout their music. And it means no one wants to be the one who's going to be the one backing down. So therefore, you'll decide to not be part of your family. And that's where it becomes a part of belonging. Because what you're doing is effectively you're saying that the gang that you're associated to is more important than you being with your family.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we have an issue with social media. Because back in the day, I don't think that we would have that problem, so to speak.
No.
It wouldn't be so open.
I just
Now,
want to
because
respond to someone's comment quickly. Sorry, break the cycle. I'm sorry, I don't know your name or who you are. I just wanted to kind of clarify that what we're saying is that social media or people wanting to stunt on social media, we're not saying that it is only exclusive to gangs. We've not said that. It is an overall thing. But just because we are covering gang awareness today, we're talking about how social media does contribute to it and how it plays a part in young people wanting to get themselves involved in gangs or wanting to go down the road of illegal activity or selling drugs, whatever it is, to be able to get that quick money, to be able to stunt on Instagram and make people believe that you're living a life that you might not potentially be living. So we're not kind of saying that it's only gangs that do this or act a certain way on social media. It's everyone at the moment. So just to kind of clarify that, I don't want people to think that we're just kind of like blaming everything on social media, because it's not. It's a collection of things that all contribute to the kind of life that certain young people want to live, and it's not just social media. So sorry, continue, David.
So interestingly, and recently we were speaking to a young man who was referred to us by the police, and he was studying for a system development course in college. And due to the local area that he was associated to, and due to the pulls that he was having from just being out in his local area, he stopped going to college. And funny enough, he was like from some of the deepest parts of South London and was traveling to some of the deepest parts of East London just to be in college, because for him, he didn't want to be in a local area attending the college because it would make his friends seem like he was soft.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to do that. So that's hard to go to college. And unfortunately now he dropped out of college due to the fact of just not wanting to come out of his house.
Yeah.
And I think that's the pull that, influence that you don't see. And that's what I spoke about at the top of the conversation about intervention is key. So it's not about reacting to a situation where he gets himself nipped for something that he shouldn't have done. It's about intervening now and providing him them opportunities.
Yeah.
But yeah, like him saying it, like it is really sad to speak to a young man and like a mum, and we're on the phone with the police and like statutory services just to ensure that we try and give him the opportunities to develop, because for him he's not really feeling like the pull of the streets is more attractive than actually doing something positive for himself. How we've kind of got him back on the other side, and hopefully he's on a positive trajectory, but once again it's just one of those challenges that we face.
Yeah. So just to kind of respond to what people are saying in the comments. So Break the Cycle, you've just come in and said that you run a charity. That is amazing. If you would like to just let us know about your services, please send us a private message. We're more than happy to post that on our page. That's what we're kind of here for, is basically pushing everyone up together, all different organisations that can help with young people. Please send us your information, your details. We're more than happy to share it on our Instagram pages. What Break the Cycle and also Katie just touched on as well is about trauma from your childhood and also poverty in these different areas. How do you feel about those two being kind of contributing factors to young people wanting to join a gang as well?
Trauma is like an amazing effect. Like PTSD is quite understated, and mental health is quite understated in terms of young people. I think we have a difficulty in our community, and I'm definitely speaking from someone from the Black community. Like we have a difficulty speaking about mental health, and I think that's where effectively, and I don't want to try and big ourselves up as an organisation, but that's where we try and hit home with the conversations that we have with our young people. But trauma has a massive effect, and I feel like a lot of the times we try and act like it doesn't exist and try and pass through the moment, so to speak. But a lot of young people, I mean, we deal with a young man who witnessed a murder at the age of 10, and he's now 15. But what effect that had on him over the years, who are we to determine that? So it's about positive conversations that we have with these young people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your picture's freezing a little bit though.
Okay. Right, yeah, it's freezing on my side, my bad. Yeah, so I was just talking about a young man that witnessed a murder at 10 years old.
Wow.
He's now 15 years old. I think for us, we can never gauge what effect that has on his life, but it's about having positive conversations with him and getting an understanding of what we can do to assist him. And it often is not about having that direct conversation with them about their issue, because like him is mentioning now, like we're not counsellors. Like I said earlier, I'm not a solicitor or a barrister, so I'm never going to try and give legal advice. I'm never going to try and give you that counselling advice, but be that real person, so to speak, who you can have a conversation with.
Yeah, definitely. And Hina's just, is there kind of, do they feel like they can access counselling for that trauma, or is that something that you guys could put them in touch with, or that you guys could offer yourselves? Do you have on site who can kind of speak to them from a psychiatric kind of like standpoint, rather than just speaking to them about anything in a non-professional way?
No, so what we do, we offer a service. So obviously, if there are young people who require a necessary service or they have a necessary need, we will signpost them accordingly. Like, we're not the type of organisation who tries to do everything. So like I said to you the other day, if a young person comes to us and says, I want to, we're not just going to act like we're some UEFA level coaches I can do some drills. We're going to signpost them to something which is necessary for them, and likewise with their life. So if it needs counselling, if it needs referral services, whatever it requires, we will signpost them in the necessary way, as opposed to trying to dominate. Because I think that's part of the problem as well. Sometimes, I don't want to be critical, but sometimes people do try and like monopolize things and try and do everything themselves. And I think that's what's kind of unique about us, because it's important to know that there are other people who are doing these great things as well. So let's pass you on to us, as opposed to try and hold them on. And likewise, I would expect someone to pass someone on to us if they felt it was necessary.
100%. So what, just to kind of speak about what you guys do in a little bit more detail about what your organization offers. So say you have a young person who's got themselves on the kind of wrong side of the criminal justice system. I don't know if they've committed a crime themselves, or they may have been affiliated, like what happened with your young person now serving time for just making a phone call. What's the kind of stages that you guys go through to offer that help for young? What do you do?
So we kind of have a process where what we try and do is establish what services are involved at first, because the one thing that you don't want to do with a young person is do too much duplication, because we're going to try and do something and then like youth offender team are doing something and probation are doing the same thing, and the young person becomes disengaged. So what we try and do at first is try and get an understanding from all possible parties who's doing what and where we can fit in. Like I said to you, we do offer a bespoke service. So whilst we have traditional things that far in terms of educational courses, activities that we do, it is all about, for us, understanding the needs of the young person and the family. And I think that's very important, because sometimes it's like you have that focus on what a young person wants, but not having the communication with the mum, the sister, the dad, etc. So for us, we try and find where we can fit into this model.
Okay.
Trying to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the young person, as opposed to us dictating to them that this is what we do.
Can you hear me? You just cut out, so you might have to go through that again.
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Sorry. No, sorry. What I was saying is, we don't necessarily offer a direct service, so to speak. So we have activities that we do. We do educational courses, so to speak. But for me, what we do, if we were referred a young person in that way, we would work with whoever's involved to get an understanding of where we can fit in, and then try and direct what we can do to influence positive development.
Yeah. Amazing. And so with working with young people, go on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, sorry. I just see Hina's asked the question.
Yeah, go on. You can answer that. So what signs should parents and teachers look for, and how can we support them if they find something?
So I think one of the signs that you can look for, well, one of the the quick wins, so to speak, is when your young person's coming home with particular goods. So when they're coming home with new trainers, new tracksuits,
Yeah.
things that look a bit out of the ordinary, I think that's one of the quick signs.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak too much detail, but a parent recently referred a young man to us who had been buying knives online. And I'm still yet to know how she found out how the young man was buying those online. But equally, I think it's important that you have a view over the young person's use of the internet.
Yeah.
So it might be that the fact that they might want to access your laptop or access your phone or buy something that's a bit out of the ordinary or ask you to borrow a card. I think those are the things that you can potentially look for. I think with young people and teachers, like him have asked, sometimes it can become that they become a bit more disassociated. They become a bit disengaged. I think when you can spot some signs in terms of having a young man who might seem interested in school and that, and then the next week they just seem like their focus has gone or their behaviour drastically switches. I think when young people keep themselves, when they come home and keep themselves in the room, I think that's something to be a bit alarmed about. Having conversations away from the family, is definitely something to be alarmed about also. I think the signs are endless, if I'm being completely honest with you. There's not a conscious list that I could go through, but at the same time, I think there are things that parents and teachers need to look for, but equally it's about parents and teachers having conversations as well.
Yeah, definitely. And just to kind of add to the different signs that you mentioned, I think you mentioned their behaviour drastically changing at school. It's also their behaviour drastically changing at home, them kind of secluding themselves away from the family, spending a lot of time upstairs in their room.
Exactly.
Someone else mentioned on here, if they came home with a phone or a little trap phone or something like that, that's another, I mean, that's, for me, that's a warning sign. That's a massive warning sign. If my child is coming home with a little Nokia or something and it's got an iPhone, that's already warning signs for me. But I think it's really, really important for there to be different services like yourself, and also like Break the Cycle, who's in the comment. It's amazing that you're kind of working for a charity. These kind of different services that there are for young people to access, I think it's important to know that parents can actually access them as well. Carers can access them. Anyone who's looking after a young person or has them in their care, I think it's really, really important for them to know that they can also access our service as well if they are struggling with a young person, with their young person, and they don't really know what to do. I think it's so important to have the different services there that people can access. So what with your guys' kind of information and stuff like that, I don't know if you want to just say a little bit about it, where you guys are based and stuff like that, just so anyone who's watching, if they do have a young person who they might want to get in touch with you guys about, they'll know where to go.
I'm losing you.
Did you hear what I said? Sorry guys, we're just having a technical problem. Sorry guys. So we're just having a little bit of a technical problem at the moment, but he's joining back now. Bear with me. Sorry guys. So just to kind of touch on what Tasha's just said, you're so right in what you're saying. So with the kind of it takes a village ethos, I think it's really, really important to support someone who might be dealing with a difficult young person, or a young person who might be getting themselves affiliated with a gang. I think it's really important for all of us to play a part. If you are part of that family or you're friends with that person and you can see that they're struggling, I think it's really important for us as other people to look in and see what's going on and see what we can do to help. Because at the end of the day, all young people deserve to be protected. All young people deserve to have good opportunities in life, and they deserve to go on. And even if it's not necessarily them going down the road of becoming a banker or a scientist or anything like that, it might not be that. It might be something completely different. But it's just important to educate our young people and let them know that they don't need to go down that road of getting themselves in trouble and just living a really stressful life, which will come around and affect them once they're in their 30s and 40s. At the minute, because they're young people, like I said in the last one, I feel like young people are so resilient. They just get up and go. They're like, no, if I'm involved, they're so headstrong. So they're like, if I'm involved in this, I'm involved in this. This is all I want in life. But they'll come to realize 20 or 30 years down the line, they'll start to basically deal with the consequences then. I would say. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I kind of hear you. It's not my reception, you know. It's yours, you know. I'm not having.
Really? Right by the router.
So am I.
Maybe we're just.
I'm inside. I'm inside the router. I'm inside the router.
Yeah, if you just want to kind of reel off about your organisation, also let us know where you're based. So if anyone does want to access your, they know where to kind of come to.
Okay, so we're based in Croydon. We do cover a wide remit of South London, so I don't want to limit it to Croydon. But effectively, we offer advocacy, mentoring, parental support, family support. We offer young people activities. We do weekend residential. Effectively, really, what we try and do is just engage with young people on their level and try and get an understanding of what they want and work with them to achieve their desired goals. I think what you were saying prior to me coming back in was quite key, because young people don't necessarily realize their potential.
Yeah.
And it takes for someone else to come in and intervene. I think the analogy I want to give is like when a young person attends school, you've got school and you've got the teachers and you've got your pupils, right? And it takes for sometimes the teaching assistants to come and be the ones that intervene and be the ones that are the voice for the young people to speak to the teachers and be the voice for the teachers to speak to the young people and kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So I think for me, what I am passionate about and what we're passionate about is effectively collaborating with organizations such as yourself. Because the one thing I always say when we attend these meetings, and some of these meetings kind of appear like talking shops, it really is about collaboration, because there's more demand than there is supply.
Yeah.
So let's work with each other to try and ensure that we're working for the benefit of the young people, as opposed to being those organizations who are trying to compete with each other, who are not trying to collaborate, because that's part of the problem that I think that we have.
Yeah.
So these grassroots organizations can come together, work together, and kind of give the betterment of the young people.
Yeah. 100%. And just to carry on from what you've just said, what we briefly said the other day on the phone as well, is sometimes one service may not be able to offer what the other one can, and rather than them kind of being like, well, I can't help you, you need to go somewhere else, if you can say to a young person, well, I can't do this for you here, but I know an amazing organization that could support you. So I think it's so important. This is why I said to everyone in the comments, if you do have an organization or you work for an organization, a charity or anything like that, please send us your information and your details. We are more than happy to post you guys on our stories. We're more than happy to speak to you about what our services offer as well. So definitely collaboration is key.
Absolutely. And I think like our conversation that we had briefly the other day on the phone, when I listened to the live of Hina, and obviously I'm not going to go into too much detail, but when I listened to that live, it was so powerful that if it affected one person positively, then it has a desired effect. And I think that's the message of our organization. It's like, we're never going to get that measure of, did you stop that young person from getting stabbed? Did you stop that young person from getting into a situation with a gang? But that's not what we're about. It's about trying to affect these young people positively, and not necessarily seeing the desired results. But it is about knowing that what you're doing is working towards a brighter future for them.
100%. At the end of the day, I believe that everyone deserves, especially when it comes to young people, I believe that they all deserve a second chance. I think that every young person deserves to be able to do something with their life, to reach their goals and get to a place where they're happy in themselves. And if it means that they have to go down the wrong route first, find amazing organizations like yourselves, and then out on the other side, so be it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. As long as everyone's just kind of getting to a point where they're happy, they're comfortable, they're where they want to be in life, we've done our jobs.
Absolutely. And I think, you know what, not to sound so philosophical, but what we live in a world where, like, when we talk about social media, a lot of it is negative information that we feed ourselves. So we go online and we kind of tune into the negative things. We go on Twitter and it's the negative things that we kind of tune into. But there are many great people and many great organizations. And like, I know people say things like, oh, I don't like the police. And I've met some, like, doing this work that we do, I've met some great police officers that do some great work. Like, I know great teachers that do great work. I know, like, great people that work in statutory services that do great work. But what we don't do, we don't shout about it enough. And it's like, it kind of takes for those people to come together and realize, okay, this is a time. 2020 is that year where you're like, you know what, we kind of need to fix up. And I said this to you on the phone the other day, innit? Like, it's made us realize, listen, the reset, like, let's go again. Like, 2021, let's go again.
Refresh, we're ready to go. We're ready to go again.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Well, let's kind of just round it up a little bit. Just to remind everyone in the comments or anything like that, we will be posting Dave's services on our page. So anyone who wants to access their services or just wants to find out what they're about in a little bit more detail, I know we kind of touched on it today, but if you want to have a more intimate or a more personal conversation with the organisation itself, just get in touch with them. As per usual, we always post our other services as well that are available for young people. And just a reminder, this is for you as well, Dave, the workbooks that we offer, free workbooks.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I think it would be amazing if we could send you guys some. All you literally have to do is just print off the workbooks and give them to your young people, and they just fill out the different activities and stuff like that. It's got loads of information on it. It's amazing. They can watch videos. We basically put the video you need to get up on YouTube. You just get the video up, they watch it. So I think it would be amazing if we could send you the workbook over. You can have a look at it, see if you guys want to kind of implement it do already. And anyone else, they're free of charge for anyone. If you want them, just send us a private message or send us over an email and we can get that email straight over to you. But Dave, thank you so much for joining. It was amazing to have you on. We might have you pop on again.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you. Thanks for enough for the opportunity to obviously speak on this matter. It's funny because, like I was saying the other day, one of my colleagues is a gang intervention worker for a local authority. So he might have been quite more well versed to come and speak, but I did have a few with you. But yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity. You guys are doing great work, and obviously we definitely will collaborate in the future.
100%. And thank you for watching. Everyone have a wonderful Thursday. See you next week.
Have a nice weekend, all right? Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.